Hello, Petal. How you doing? How's life been going? How are things? Much apologies, it's been a couple of weeks, and I miss you all. I miss you all very much. It's been one thing after another, as we all know, and it's been incredibly challenging, but very enlightening. And it was that sort of strange thing where you know that you just got to pick yourself up by the bootstraps, dust yourself off, get your act together, and get cracking. You know, you know how it goes. I've learned a lot over the past couple of weeks, and I like it when it's like that. You know, even though things are kind of like being thrown at your face from all angles, you know, so you really have to wipe. I mean, I don't mean just like kind of a little bit of a dib dab with a fresh wipe or something. I'm talking full on like gale force shower. I don't know if you can have a gale force shower. Torrential shower. That would be the one with gravel and swarfika and everything else that gets every single layer of the ick off you from life. But yeah, that's pretty much how it's been. But then again, I've got no reason to complain or room to complain because there's a lot of people a lot worse off than me. And you know, at the end of the day, this is for all of us. It's not just for me. So I have been selfish over the past couple of weeks, but I do appreciate all of the support. I really, really do. I couldn't wish for a better community or group of friends. You know, I really appreciate you. And I know I say it a lot and I've probably worn it out, but it's true. I really do. This is my happy, safe space. So, as ever, please let me know how things are going. Drop me a line if you need to, or would like to. That's always good. And I always like to see it, and I always like to respond and stuff as soon as I can. And yeah, so there are a lot of positive things happening and going on, and there was two major things I wanted to tell you about. One of them's gone completely out of my brain. It just ran away. But the second one, well, actually the first one really, as you know, I love my honey. It comes in so useful, especially when your voice is absolutely ragged, which has been one of the things I've been battling with for the past couple of weeks. And I actually got some incredible honey from Tasmania, thanks to one of our lovely community. Thank you to Warren and Mary Lou. Appreciate you. And they have been married forever. A stunning 37 years. Isn't that wonderful? And they're just lovely, lovely people. And well, you all know each other by now. But yeah, they sent me the most incredible honey. It works really well with ginger tea. It's got a lovely smoky flavour to it. It's Leatherback Mountain, and it's got like a gorgeous deep flavour to it. As I said, it does work really well with ginger tea, like if you've got a spiced ginger tea, and it also works really well on toast. Oh my goodness. Seriously, I could live on honey, like in one way or another. Well, I have to have my veggies and my fruit as well, but honey can be used for everything. So yes, so I am so lucky. I cannot even thank you enough, like just for being so wonderful. And you know, obviously, we've all been together for a very long time now, and we're welcoming on new people as well. But it's such a lovely community, and I really can't thank you enough. Yeah, and I appreciate you. So thank you for keeping my voice going. Even though for the last couple of weeks it has been a nightmare around here. I don't know what's going on, but there's something that is really affecting the voice and the sinuses. But it is a lot better than it was, which is fab. Doesn't hurt so much, you know, that whole breathing and swallowing thing. For now, not that type of swallowing. Oh God. Oh, see, I've been away far too long. There is the computer saga. That's the other thing I'll tell you about. But that'll be another story for another day. What I'm going to try and do is let's see how much we can get recorded today. If I separate it over a few days posting, then at least you've got something for each day. But at least if I can record a couple of chapters today, I'm doing something a bit extra because I really feel as if I've let you down. And I know nobody ever said let you down, but I say it and I'm my own worst critic and I'm just waffling now at this point. Thank you for indulging me, you absolute lovely beans. I appreciate you. And as I said, please let me know how you are getting on. I've talked far too much about myself. So tell me about how you are getting on, and, you know, I do appreciate it. Anyway, chapter 5. Only constant and conscientious practice in the martial arts will ensure a long and happy life. B. Lee. Narrator's note. As much as I love you, Miss Lee, and you were indeed taught by the best Wing Chun master that there was, you didn't have a long and happy life, did you? I'm sure it would have got that way if somebody hadn't got in the way of it, but, you know. I think I've got it figured out, kid. As Oz spoke, he paused in honing his sword to inspect the edge. Ever since our trek began, he had seized every opportunity to work on his weapons. Even when we simply paused to rest by a stream, he busied himself working their edges or adjusting their balance. I felt I had learned more about weapons in the last week just by watching him tinker than I had in my entire previous life. Figured out what? Why, people in this world are trained in weapons or magic, but not both. How's that? Well, 2 reasons I can see just offhand. First off, it's a matter of conditioning, reflexes. You'll react the way you're trained. If you've been trained with weapons, you'll react to crises with a weapon. If you're trained in magic, you'll react with magic. The problem is, if you're trained both ways, you'll hesitate, trying to make up your mind which to use and probably get clobbered in the process. So to keep things simple, Garkin only trained you in magic. It's probably all he'd been trained in himself. I thought about it. That makes sense. What's the other reason? He grinned at me. Learning curve. If what you told me about life expectancy in this world, I said in this world, is even vaguely accurate, and if you're any example of how fast people in this world learn, you only have time to learn one or the other. I think I prefer the first explanation. He chortled to himself and went back to sharpening his sword. Narrator's note, that's got to be a euphemism. I digress. Once, his needling would have bothered me, but now I took it in stride. It seemed to be his habit to be critical of everything in our world, and, well, me in particular. After a week of constant exposure to him, the only way I would worry is if he stopped complaining. Actually, I was quite pleased with my progress in magic. Under Oz's tutelage, my powers were growing daily. One of the most valuable lessons I had learned was to draw strength directly from the earth. It was a matter of envisioning energy as a tangible force like water, and drawing new energy up one leg and into my mind while releasing exhausted energy down the other leg and back into the earth. Already, I could completely recharge myself even after a hard day's walking, just by standing motionless with my eyes closed for several minutes and affecting this energy exchange. Oz, as always, was unimpressed. According to him, I should have been able to do the energy exchange while we were walking, but I didn't let his grumbling dampen my enthusiasm. I was learning, and at a faster pace than I had dreamed possible. Hey, kid, I said, hey, kid, fetch me a piece of wood, will you? I smiled to myself and looked around. About 10 feet away was a small branch of deadwood about 2 feet long. I leisurely stretched out a finger, and it took flight, floating gently across the clearing to hover in the air in front of Oz. Not bad, kid, he acknowledged. Then his sword flashed out, cutting the branch into 2 pieces, which dropped to the ground. He picked up one of the pieces and inspected the cut. There may be hope for this sword yet. Why did you let them fall? The last comment was directed at me. I don't know. I guess you startled me when you swung the sword? Oh, really? Oh, really? Suddenly he threw the stick at me. I yelped and tried to duck out of the way, but it bounced painfully off my shoulder. Hey! What was that for? Call it an object lesson. You know you can control the stick because you just did it when you fetched it for me. So why did you duck out of the way? Why? I said why, not just stop it with your magic. I guess it just never occurred to me. You didn't give me much time to think. Okay, so think. This time you know it's coming. He picked up the second piece of wood and waited, grinning evilly, which with pointed teeth is easy. I ignored him, letting my mind settle. Then I nodded that I was ready. The stick struck me squarely in the chest. Ow! I commented. And there, my young friend, is the difference between classroom and field. Classroom, I said the classroom is fine to let you know that things can be done and that you can do them. But in actual practice, you will never be allowed the luxury of leisurely gathering your power, and seldom will you have a stationary target. Say, Oz, If you're really trying to build up my self-confidence, how come you always cut my legs out from under me every time I start thinking I'm getting someplace? He stood up, sheathing his sword. Self-confidence is a wonderful thing, kid, but not if it isn't justified. Someday we'll be staking one or both of our lives on your abilities, and it won't do us any good if you've been kidding yourself along. Now, let's get down to work. Have we got the time? Relax, kid. Imps are tenacious, but they travel slow. Our strategy upon leaving the hut had been simple. Lacking a specific direction for our search, we would trace the force lines of the world until we either found Istvan or located another magician who would be able to steer us to him. One might ask what force lines are, as I did. Force lines, as Aahz explained them, are those paths of a world along which its energies flow most freely. In many ways, they are not unlike magnetic lines. One might ask what magnetic lines are. I did, and I will not quote Aahz's answer to that, but it was not information. Anyway, force lines are a magician's ally and enemy. Those who would tap the energies of those lines usually set up residence on or near one of those lines. This makes it easier for them to draw upon the energies, and it also makes it easier for their enemies to find them. It was Aahz's theory that searching the force lines was how Garkin was located. It was therefore logical that we should be able to find Istvan the same way. Of course, I knew nothing of force lines or how to follow them, at least until Aahz taught me. It was not a difficult technique, which was fortunate, as I had my hands full trying to absorb all the other lessons Aahz was deluging me with. One simply closes one's eyes and relaxes, trying to envision a two-pointed spear in glowing yellows and reds suspended in midair. The intensity of the glow indicates the nearness to a force line. The direction of the points shows the flow of energies, rather like the needles of a compass. Whatever that is. Narrator's note, isn't it divining rods? What's the name of the divining rods that divine water? Yeah, I can't remember. Once we had determined that Garkin had set up shop directly on a force line, as Aahz had suspected, and established direction of the flow of energies, we had another problem. Which way did we follow it? The decision was doubly important as, if Aahz was correct, there would be a team of imp assassins waiting in one direction, very probably in the direction we wanted to go. We solved the problem by travelling 1 day's journey perpendicular to the force line, then for 2 days parallel to the line in our chosen direction, then returning to the line before continuing our journey. We hoped this would bypass the assassins entirely. It worked, and it didn't. It worked in that we didn't walk into an ambush. It didn't work in that now it seemed they were on our trail, though whether they were actually tracking us or merely following the force line back to Istvan was unknown. I keep telling you, kid, Aahz insisted. I said, I keep telling you. It's a good sign. It means we've chosen the right direction, and that we'll reach Istvan ahead of his assassin's report. What if we're heading in the wrong direction? I argued. What if they're really following us? How long do we travel in this direction before we give up and admit it? How long? I said, how long do you figure it will take for you to learn enough magic to stand up to a pack of imp assassins armed with off-dimension weapons? Let's get to work, I said firmly. Narrator's note, and actually very Englishly. Let's get to work. Damn it. Oh. He looked around and pointed to a gnarled fruit tree strewn around with windfalls across the clearing. Okay now, here's what I want you to do. Stare at the sky or contemplate your navel or something. Then when I give the word, use your power to grab one of those fruits and toss it to me. I don't know how many hours we spent on that drill. It's more difficult than it sounds, mustering one's powers from a standing start. Just when I thought I had it down pat, Aahz switched tactics. He would engage in a conversation, deliberately leading me on, then would interrupt me in mid-sentence with his signal. Needless to say, I failed miserably. Relax, kid. Look, try it this way. I said, try it this way. Instead of mustering your power from scratch each time, create a small space inside yourself and store up some energy there. Just
habitually keep that reserve squirreled away and ready to cover for you. I said ready to cover for you while you get set to level your big guns.
What's a gun?
Never mind. Just build that reserve and we'll try it again.
With this extra bit of advice at my disposal, the drill went noticeably better. Finally, Aahz broke off the practice session and put me to work helping him with his knife practice. Actually, I rather enjoyed this task. It entailed my using my powers to levitate one of the fruits and send it flying around the clearing until Aahz pegged a knife into it. As an extra touch of finesse, I would then extract the knife and float it back to him for another try. The exercise was monotonous, but I never tired of it. It seemed almost supernatural the way the shimmering, somersaulting sliver of steel would dart out to intercept the fruit as Aahz practiced his first overhand, then underhand, now backhand. Narrator's note, now that's just showing off. Come on now.
Stop it, Skeeve!
Aahz's shout jolted me out of my reverie. Without thinking, I reached out with my mind and the knife stopped in midair. I blinked, but held it there, floating a foot from the fruit, which also hung suspended in place.
Hello! That's the stuff, Skeeve. Now, I tell you, there's something to have confidence in.
I did it, I said, disbelieving my own eyes.
You sure did. I said you sure did. That little piece of magic will save your life someday.
Out of habit, I floated the knife back to him. He plucked it from the air and started to tuck it in his belt, then halted, cocking his head to one side.
In the nick of time, too. Someone's coming.
How can you tell?
Nothing special. My hearing's a bit better than yours is all. Don't panic. It isn't the Imps. Hooved beast from the...
No, is it hooved or hooved?
Both words are great. Hooved beast from the sound of it. No wild animal moves in that straight line, or that obviously.
What do you mean, in the nick of time? Aren't we going to hide?
Not this time. He grinned at me. You're developing fast. It's about time you learned a new spell. We have a few days before whoever it is gets here.
Days? Aahz was adapting rapidly to our dimension, but units of time still gave him trouble.
Run through those time measurements again, he grumbled.
In seconds, minutes, hours?
Minutes! Oh, we got a few minutes.
Minutes? I can't learn a new spell in a few minutes.
Sure you can. This one's easy. I said this one's easy. All you got to do is disguise my features to look like a man.
How do I do that?
The same way you do everything else, with your mind. First, close your eyes. I say close your eyes. Close them. Close them. Close them. Okay. Now picture another face.
All I could think of was Garkin, so I pictured the two faces side by side.
Now move the new face over mine and melt away or build up the necessary features like clay. Just keep that in the back of your mind and open your eyes.
I looked, and I was disappointed. It didn't work.
Sure it did.
He was looking in the dark mirror which he had fished from his belt pouch. But you haven't changed.
Yes, I said yes, I have. You can't see it because you cast a spell. It's an illusion, and since your mind knows the truth, it isn't fooled, but anyone else will be. Garkin, huh? Well, it'll do for now.
His identification of the new face took me aback. You can really see Garkin's face?
Sure. Want to look?
He offered the mirror and grinned. It was a bad joke. One of the first things we discovered about his dubious status in this world was that while he could see himself in mirrors, nobody from our world could. At least I couldn't. I could now hear the sounds of the rider coming. Aahz, are you sure?
Trust me, kid. I said, trust me, kid. There's nothing to worry about.
I was worried. The rider was in view now. He was a tall, muscular man with the look of a warrior about him. This was reinforced by the massive war unicorn he was riding. Now it's no, I want a war unicorn. Can I have a war unicorn? I want a war unicorn. They sound pretty cool. This was reinforced by the massive war unicorn he was riding, laden with weapons and armour. Hey, Aahz, shouldn't we...
Relax, kid. Just watch this.
He stepped forward, raising his arm.
Hello, stranger. How far to the next town?
The man veered his mount towards us. He half raised his arm in greeting, then suddenly stiffened. Heaving forward, he squinted at Aahz, then drew back in terror. By the gods, a demon! No, it's not. I really think that's the right voice for that one. So, interesting. So he doesn't look like himself, but he looks like somebody else. So who is this mysterious character that will be coming into the story at this particular time? Oh, so much fun. I hope you're enjoying it, because I really love this book. I think it's going to be a really fantastic series. We are going to do a Tom Holt one next, I think. Just kind of like alternate between the two, so that we're kind of like got different stories going on at different times. You know, as I said, we're just taking one day at a time right now, because everything's a bit squirrely. One thing that has been going on, you're gonna love this. So I have got a pretty decent computer. It does the job. I only got it last year, and the hickory dickory dock thing about it is that it keeps overheating, and I don't know why. And I've got like 5 fans in it, and I've kind of like got the right sort of like the amount of heat being taken out in comparison to the air coming in, and it's all got a decent flow on it, and it just keeps going bleh. No, I'm like, for crying out loud. And I had a power source, and I put new fans in, and I put new graphics card in, and it was all really spiffy, and then it was like, oh no, I'm starting to overheat now, man. The weather's too hot, man. And it's like, I've got 2 fans focused on it from outside. I've got the fans on the inside, and I'm like, for crying out loud. That one takes the fans in, so it's like there's now there's 2 in, 2 out, but there's gonna be 3 in, 2 out, and that's gonna be 2 in, 3 out. Yeah, just to keep taking the hot air out, basically. I know it when I see it. I know it when I'm looking at it. So yeah. Oh my goodness, if it's not one thing, it's a bloody another. Yes, and of course I told you about Ellie's cauliflower ear, so that's doing a lot better. That's improved. Bolt's kind of like yowling along. And your puppy's doing really well. He's still very skittish. It is going to take time. It's just how things are. And I'm just constantly exhausted. I mean, what the frick, you back? And this is so dull. I'm so sorry. Anywho, my lovely beans. So yeah, the hot weather is probably affecting everybody right now. If you're on a different hemisphere, stay warm. Keep yourself cuddled up. Have a nice hot drink and snug as a bug in, and a human burrito and that sort of thing. And if you're in a place that's too hot, like it is over here, stay hydrated, stay cool, and all that sort of stuff. And I hope you're not hearing the fans too much. And I promise next chapter will be a bit better and not be so babbly and so exhausted. At least I'll try. Take it easy, Petal. I'll talk to you soon.